So we talk property everywhere we go. I was listening to a speaker's Isla. Angazi ukuthi, I believe everyone has got a book where you can write your notes. Mina, I had my notes here, but I'm just gonna point a few things that I've taken from our speakers here. And I would also like to thank Ekasi Noble Property for the opportunity. And the last time we were here, it was very exciting because their formula is a formula that not everyone understands. And when we were here and people were excited and they were choosing their stance, it really struck me because I felt like I wish at the time when everyone was still doubting, they had a great education like today. So they can understand that in buying property, you are not buying something that will make money for you now. It's something that will make money for you and the generations to come. So Uputsia was here, and Uputsia talk about education, which is very, very much important when you are an investor. You must not be a risk investor. You must know how to manage risk. And also, as Homo, he talk about formula. So each and every one of us here, we don't have the same formula. So we have different formulas. So the question is, what is your own formula? Because in property investing, there's only one formula, that is your return on investment. Then as a person then, what is your own formula? Because that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And then Oput Mandilake came and he's talking about retiring comfortable. Guys, I was like, retiring comfortable. So comfortable, guys, I don't know if you understand meaning that you don't have to worry about taxes, you don't have to worry about, paying the loans, you don't have to worry about anything. You are cruising nicely at the time. Nah? And then Udijisbu came and he said every opportunity is specific. So meaning if I see the opportunity, it's maybe not going to be the same way you see it. And then Auslebu came and he says her concentration was on generational wealth. Often it happens that we as people think that we own our tomorrows. And the truth is we don't own our tomorrows. So whatever it is that we do, we must know that tomorrow is not guaranteed. So what I'm going to be talking about today is estate planning. So that while you are buying these properties, while we are learning about all of these strategies, we know we don't own tomorrow. Because what will happen tomorrow is you having a will and your children inheriting your property. But then what happens? It stops there. Because then if your child receives a lump sum, what does he do? He goes on TV and said, I blew it. And now it becomes something that when you are on the grave, you are turning and tossing because you are not now sleeping peacefully. We want to sleep peacefully, guys. Okay, I'm not scaring you. But what I wanted to highlight here is that while we are creating the wealth, we need to write it down. That wealth creation, what is it that I want to do? What strategies I want to use in creating the wealth? Number two, we talk about wealth preservation. What strategies are in place in order for me to protect what I'm creating here? Because you need to protect it. And then number four is legacy creation. Is it something that I want my children to continue running with it? And the last one is asset protection. How do I protect all of these things? I'm not going to talk because it's going to take me more than 30 minutes to unlock all of these things, but I'm just going to choose one, which is estate planning. Under estate planning, we are talking about wills, we are talking about trusts. I hear a lot of people, they are having, you go to TikTok, you listen, and you're like, hey, I so wish, I so wish, I so wish. Because you know what? When it comes to TikTok, people will talk. And then when we hear, then when you come, because I remember I had a consultation with someone who said to me, I was listening on YouTube and I listened to this video and this is what was said. And it's not even what is said is wrong, it's the way it's said that is wrong. Because, for example, someone will tell you it's very expensive to maintain a trust. Is it expensive? It depends on you. What is it that you want the trust for? Because we can't say it's very expensive if we don't know. What is it that you want to use the trust for that makes it expensive? Right? So we have, when we talk about estate planning, we have wills and we have trust. But now what I want us now, just to try and unlock, but obviously having to check the time, is if you have a will, now I want you to think about these two things. If you were to have a will, if you were to have a trust, if we look at both these two strategies, a will allows you to give direction when you die, how your property must be dealt with, right? So meaning now you are able to say in your will, I want this one to be my executor, I want these ones to be my beneficiaries, and I want them to benefit this way, which is fine, which is nice. But then if we are property investors, I believe that we are not buying properties just because we want these properties to be owned by us, and then after that, then nothing happens. Because when we say now these kids must inherit our assets, yes, they will inherit the house. But then imagine if a child is inheriting a house and is not working. That house, there is rates and taxes to be paid, there are levies to be paid, there's maintenance to be done. And then what happens? He ends up selling the house because he can't afford those things. Right? And then also, we even forget in our wills to put conditions. To say, for example, if you inherit my property, this property has got nothing to do with your marriage. And then we still allow our children now to inherit our properties whilst they are married in community of property. And it becomes a part of a joint estate. And then what happens when they divorce? That spouse shares in that estate. And again, when we have these wills, it happens that, I have Phatheka who's been, looking after me as a parent. And you say Phatheka is going to inherit this thing. And then the other kids maybe are going to get some certain money. And then what happens? Then the children start now to fight because the inheritance is not the same. I was in Soweto last year, doing wills week. And the people of Soweto wants to leave wills. But then the properties they stay in are not owned by them. They are owned by their grand. And because of that, now you have Phatheka who has divorced. He comes home with the children and then he's not doing anything. He's not paying water, he's not paying electricity. And there's no one who wants to come forward and actually say, okay, I will transfer this property. I will deal with the administration of the estate. And then again, when we have these wills, we need to understand, because I think that's one thing we always forget, is to have a life cover where it's going to cover at least the cost of winding up my estate and also the cost of transferring this property to whoever is benefiting. So meaning there is going to be a cost that is involved, but then we forget about this cost. And then again, what happens is that when in your will, even if you have a life cover, you still choose your children to be the beneficiaries. And then what happens? Instead of them paying the cost of winding up the estate or even paying the cost of maintaining the property, they receive the money. It's a lump sum. Money has power. What happens? They use it. And then you end up now, whatever it is that you were starting, now, iphelile. Ayisekho. So now let's start thinking about what are the better other strategies of owning our assets. We've got entities. We've got a private company. We've got a trust. And my favorite one is a trust. As long as for me you understand how it works, it works. That is why at PP Maliphale Incorporated, we have a 30 minutes free Zoom meeting because we want to educate you first. Before you say, yes, I can have a trust, or I can have one, or I can have two, I want to understand why. And also, I want us to have an engagement so I can understand why you think now you want to preserve your wealth. So what is beautiful about a trust? Because in your will, you had an executor, you appointed, yes, you had power to do so. And you had beneficiaries, yes, you have appointed them, you had power to do so. But in a trust, you are a founder. You're creating a bank yourself for your own children. That is why you hear about trust babies. And then what happens? You've got trustees. These trustees are people who are like employees who are able to do all of these things. The administration of this whole trust depends on the trustees. And the discretion again is on the same trustees to decide who gets what and when and how. You see, the power now is you are still alive when you do that. And then when you're gone, they will continue with it. So meaning they have seen what you are doing, and then they will be able to carry on with it. And your children will also see that there is a bank that is being created here at home. That is why even your life covers, then you change your beneficiaries. You put your trust as a beneficiary because you're creating wealth, right? And then when you have a trust, there's no one, as opposed to have a will, who's going to fight to say who's going to own what, who's going to pay what. Because in a trust, you've got trustees that can decide, okay, he's no more. Then what are we doing with the property? Are we investing it? Is it a good investment? Or are we selling it in order for us to have more money on the trust so we can buy more properties? Because they understood what is it that you wanted to do, because you started it while you were alive. That is now opposed to you having a will. Remember again, when you have a will, I still have to administer the will. As an attorney, I charge you 3.5%. And you know what is said? That 3.5% is not on the net value of the estate, it's on the gross value of the estate. You can imagine if you're sitting with an estate of 5 million, and then you pay me 3.5% to wind up your estate. And then what happens after you have properties and it's your investor? And then I transfer these properties to your beneficiaries and I charge you again to transfer these properties now to your beneficiaries, which beneficiaries, obviously, they are not going to appreciate these properties because they just got them. They didn't work for them. Now in a trust, they are sitting there. You have created this whole thing for this family. They know that if I want to start a business, there's a trust fund. And then I go, I borrow. You've got people that you trusted that you appointed when you're still alive, so they can be trustees. And then these people are able to take care of your children. And there's no child now who's going to come forward and say, oh, hey, this property is my mom. They know it belongs to the trust and they can stay here. And then there's going to be legal documents where you can sign them leases. And you say it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the trust. Therefore, I need a lease agreement to be signed by the occupant so that you can pay rent. Then you don't have anyone now ozokutshela ukuthi no kukithi la. So you don't have those sort of situations. So when you think about a trust, think about why you need to have a trust. Think about the benefits of having this trust. And then again, the reason why we are having or offering these 30 minutes free Zoom meetings, because we also want you to understand the risk associated with this trust. Because there's no benefit where there's no risk. So we need to know that whilst we are having these trusts, you need to have your financial advisor on your side. You need to have a property practitioner on your, a tax practitioner on your side. You need to have an attorney on your side, so that whatever it is that you are doing here, you are not doing it against the laws of South Africa, because SARS will always be there. So you will need to find better ways to try and save on tax while you're having these properties preserved, while you're having these assets protected. But now what we have seen, especially in our offices, is that people now are fighting for things that they didn't work for. And families are fighting because they want to inherit. And then in that inheritance, if everything is sitting under the trust, there's no one who can come forward and say, le bega mama. They know very well that things are going to be dealt with in a professional way, because you've got trustees that are going to administer this whole trust for you. And if it is expensive, then come forward, let's have a chat. I will tell you why it's expensive, if it is expensive. And if it is expensive to maintain, come forward, let's have a chat. I will tell you why do you have to maintain. So that we don't rely on what social media is telling us. What is important also is that you need to, don't be afraid to go and consult with someone. Consult with someone. No, in my class, someone saw my post and was interested to come in. Go and consult a tax consultant. Go and consult a financial advisor. Go and consult an attorney so that you can understand. It's not the same. It's not going to work for everyone the same way. But the way you want it for yourself is the way you want to at least try that this is now the way I want to create it. So that then you can know how to preserve it, and then you can know how to transfer it to your beneficiaries. Because if you die and you are the founder and the trustee in a trust, guys, you don't need Phatheka to wind up your estate. You don't need anyone to transfer these properties to anyone. You don't need to have anyone fighting, and you are just sleeping peacefully. So let's think about that. Let's think about having this trust. And also, if you prefer to use a private company, yes, you can use a private company for ownership of your assets. However, make sure that you are not the owner of those assets in terms of shares. Because again, those shares, they become assets when we wind up estates. So you have to make sure you consult so that you can get the information, and then you use the information to your advantage. I'm not scaring you guys. I'm gonna go quiet. But I'm just saying, please consult so that at least you can have the knowledge, even if you decide otherwise, but have the knowledge. Other than that, it's so difficult when you hear people saying, I was thinking about it, but then why didn't you do it? It was difficult. You can't leave a property in your will and say, Lona, uzohlala kwi-back room, Lona. You must remember also, this year they were talking about the municipalities bylaws that you need to comply with, because we have our rooms esiwakhile, and those rooms planner approved and all of that. But then no, because Phatheka is my daughter, we wafika wathola umsebenzi, and then he got the rooms. And now they are saying to me, I want to leave the rooms to Phatheka, I want to leave the house to this other person. Did you subdivide? No. That's one and the same property because there's no subdivision. Consult so that you can understand. Because umama makuzumama kho ngibona ukuthi azini akazi kuba buhlungu. Because yena in her mind ucabanga ukuthi because my daughter is the one who's been helping me to receive the income out of these rooms, it will be good for me to leave the rooms to her. But unfortunately, I understand now there must be subdivision here in order for you to subdivide the inheritance. So again, let us consult so that we can understand, so that we can know. The most important is you are creating wealth here. You need to be able to preserve it. You need to be able to transfer it to your children. And also, let us not be afraid to have this conversation with our kids, because that's the other danger part. Abantwana bethu, they don't know ukuthi senzani. They are seeing we are buying properties. They don't know our dreams. They don't know our vision. They are just seeing you buying properties as ningi and you're investing in property. So let's try and have conversations with our children so that our children can understand what is it that you are trying to be, so that we can be able to transfer this wealth to them, because we are not building it for our own only. We are also building it for them. Thank you so much.